Practical Team Assignment 1 Screencast 2. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of netball as my second sport. A full netball match is the time of 60 minutes, however it is split into 4 quarters which are 15 minutes each, and the breaks in between the first and second quarters and the third and fourth quarters are 3 minutes. However, the half-time break in between the second and third quarter is 5 minutes. The way a match will start is by a player from one of the teams being in the centre circle and then passing it to one of their teammates when the whistle has been blown. The maximum number of players allowed on the court for each team is 7, and in addition to this, there can also be a minimum of 5 players on each team on the court. A netball court is split into 3 equal sections, and this links to the positions of the players, as they would have specific rules on each player, such as which third they're allowed to be in on the court. If a player moves into a position such as into a third where they shouldn't be in, the referee would call it as an offside, and the ball would be given to the opposition team, and they would be given a free throw. A player cannot hold the netball for longer than 3 seconds, and if they do this, then the referee would call it as a foul, and the opposition team would win possession of the ball and be given a free pass. This is so that it will make the play faster, and the players will need to release the ball at a faster pace. And in addition to this, when holding the ball, a player can't take more than 1.5 steps. However, they are able to pivot around the spot which they have landed on when receiving the ball. If they start to move the ball or lose their balance and take more steps, then the referee would class that as a foul, and the opposition would be given the ball for a free throw. If the ball goes out of play or off the court, the referee would call that as a sideline throw to the team which didn't touch the ball last. The throw would be taken at the point where the ball crossed the line, and it's usually the wing attack or wing defence who takes them. A team gets a goal by either the goal shooter or goal attack being in the semicircle and attempting to shoot and get the ball through the netball hoop. For the team to win, they obviously have to try and score a larger amount of goals than their opposition. So down here are some of the positions that in a netball. Here are all of the positions in the netball team. Each position, their movement is restricted on the netball court due to the allocated positions which the team have. So the positions on my PowerPoint start from the back defensive line. So we have the goalkeeper, the goal defence, wing defence, the centre, the wing attack, the goal attack, and the goal shooter. So this slide just shows a bird's eye view of what a netball court would look like. So as you can see, you have the thirds, the goal circle on each side, and the centre circle. This is the place where the ball would start after a goal is scored or when the match starts. You can also see where all the positions are, and I'll now tell you where and what their roles are and where they are allowed on the court. So first of all, the goalkeeper, which is here for the greens. A goalkeeper's main role is to stop the opposition's goal shooter from scoring. She is also responsible for taking throw-ins from the baseline. This is the baseline right here. If the ball goes off across it. She is also known as the last line of the defence and works together with the goal defence to defend the goal circle. The only areas which the keeper is allowed in is their team's goal third, including the goal circle, which is this bit here. So the green goalkeeper here would only be allowed in this rectangular bit here, including the goal circle. And if they accidentally enter any other part of the court, the opposition would be given a free throw, and this will be the punishment if any of the players go into an area which they aren't supposed to. The next is the goal defence, which is this player. The goal defence is responsible for defending the opposition's goal attack and also their defending their defensive third, goal circle, and their centre third. Goal defenders are normally good at intercepting forward balls into the shooters. The areas which she is allowed in is the centre third, the defensive third, and also the goal circle. So that is the exact same as the goalkeeper, except from the goal defence is also allowed in this rectangle area here as well. And overall, the goalkeeper and goal defence have very similar roles, but the goal defence just has a larger area to work in, so it has all of this, whereas the keeper just has this. A wing defence also has a very similar role to a goalkeeper and a goal defence, so that's this player here. Their main role is to defend the opposition's wing attack and make it hard for them to play. The areas in which the wing attack is not allowed is the centre and defence. This is where they are allowed, sorry. They are allowed in the centre and defensive thirds, however not in the goal circle. So this wing defence here would be allowed in this bit and this bit around here, but not into this goal third here. The next position I'm going to go on about is the centre here. In my opinion, the position of the centre is very important in a game, and they are a very important player. This is because they have many responsibilities throughout the game, such as starting and restarting the game when a team has scored a goal. And they do this by, obviously, here standing in the centre circle, and when the whistle is blown, they're allowed to pass the ball to one of their teammates. They normally mark the opposition centre as well, and both would need to have good fitness due to them needing to assist with the attacking and the defending of the match for their team. Lastly, the places in which the centre is allowed to play in is all of the pitch except from the goal circles, so they're not allowed in these here, but allowed anywhere else. And this is the reason why a player playing this position would have to be as fit, as they have a larger area to work in compared to many of the other players. The next position I'm going to go on about is the wing attack. A wing attack is known to be the key playmaker when on the court. They normally are the ones who create the goals by passing it forward to the goal shooters, or if they don't get the ball, they would be distracting the opposition defenders with their movements to create space for the shooters to receive the ball from other teammates. When defending, one of their roles should be to mark the opposition's wing defence and make their job hard. Lastly, the areas which they are allowed to play in is the opposition's goal third and the centre third. But this doesn't include the opposition's goal circle either, so they aren't allowed in there. So this wing attack here would only be allowed in this bit, and this bit around here, not the goal circle. Next I'm going to go on to a goal attack, which is right here. A goal attack's main role is scoring and setting up the goals by feeding the ball into the goal shooter. If the goal shooter is about to shoot, the goal attack would always be ready for the rebound in case they miss, so they'd be stood under the hoop. And lastly, they are only allowed to play in the centre third and the attacking third and the goal circle. So they're allowed in this centre third and all of this bit here, including the goal circle. Last position I'm going to go on about is the goal shooter, which would be here. Their main job is to simply receive the ball and score goals. And due to this being their specific role, their area is restricted to only playing in the defensive third and their goal circle, which will be literally this rectangle here. The goal shooter would only be able to go in that bit of the defensive bit. And this is because there's really no need for them to move into any other area on the pitch, as they'd be around this area to try and score as many goals. Next I'm going to go on about the fouls in netball. There are three main fouls in netball, which are obstruction, contact, and offside. First of all, I'm going to talk about obstruction. There are many ways that a player can get called out for obstruction, but the most common way is by using your arms to restrict the opposition players from moving when off the ball. Normally, to avoid getting called for obstruction, a player would just need to make sure that their arms aren't lifted around the opposition player and to keep them by their sides. And if they get called out for obstruction, the opposition would be given possession and allowed a free pass at the point where the foul took place. The next foul is contact. So netball is known as a contact contest sport instead of being a non-contact sport anymore. But this doesn't mean that they are able to roughly tackle each other. It allows players to come in contact with each other, however, the contact will not obstruct the play. If it does obstruct the play, the umpire would look at it as competing and allow the play to carry on. However, if the umpire thinks that the contact is too rough and it interferes with the play, they would blow the whistle and give a free pass to the team who didn't perform the foul. And the last foul that I'm going to talk about is an offside, and this is quite simple. This is when a player of any position makes contact with the ground in an area in which their position isn't allowed to be in. This could be a situation such as the centre stepping into a goal circle when passing the ball to a goal shooter. The punishment for this foul would be a free pass to the opposing team at the point where the player was called offside. Next, I'm going to go on about netball regulations. So, netball is a sport which can be played indoors or outdoors, but normally it's just played on an indoor court inside a sports hall. A netball court is a rectangular shape and roughly around 30.5 metres long and 15.25 metres wide, and divided lengthwise into 3/3. There is also not much equipment needed to play netball. The only equipment needed for a netball match is 2 netball posts, a netball, and maybe just additional gear just in case something breaks. And like I used earlier in the PowerPoint, this is just what a court would look like. Next, I'm going to go on to the netball officials. There are 3 different types of officials which are used during a netball match. There are the umpires, there are 2 umpires which both stand on different sides of the pitch. Their roles are to make sure that the teams are playing by the rules. They have many responsibilities as they are known to be the main officials of a netball match. This involves responsibilities such as making sure the court is safe to play on, making sure that all players are wearing the correct clothing and have no jewellery on, and making sure that their hair is tied up and no players have long nails, as it can cause health and safety issues. The second official, which controls a netball match, is the timekeeper. Their main role is to keep track on the time during the match and letting the umpire know when the quarters have finished and when the next quarter should begin. They should also be making sure that the quarters are timed to 15 minutes, and if there is any extra time needed, they would know how long there would need to be added on to the end of the match. The last officials, which would be at the netball match, is scorers. The main roles for these is to keep the scores of the goals and of how many goals each team has scored, and they would add all the goals together for each team, and the final result would give the overall of who wins. So next I'm going to go on to three scenarios of netball which could occur in a netball game, and explain the process which would happen. So my first scenario is an offside foul being given. This scenario starts with the blue team's centre being in possession of the ball and is attacking in the opposition's defensive third. They have released the ball and given it to their goal shooter. They try to move and receive the ball again as the shooter doesn't have a clear shot. However, due to them doing a fast movement to get away from their defender, their foot ends up in the opposition's goal circle. This is noticed by one of the umpires and is scored as an offside due to the centre entering an area which they are not allowed in. As a punishment, the opposition team would win possession of the ball, as they have